Good evening and welcome to the Durham District School Board meeting. This evening, I'll be the presiding officer, Nora Marsh, Director of Education, until the point in the agenda where we elect the chair for the incoming year. I'd like to begin this evening's meeting with two acknowledgements. The first is our land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have longstanding relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. And given that today is December 6th, I'd also like to acknowledge that it's the National Day of Remembrance and Action of Violence Against Women. It is the 32nd anniversary of the Montreal Massacre, where 14 women lost their lives while studying at l'École Polytechnique Montréal. To commemorate them and all who have lost their lives to gender-based violence, this day calls upon us to take action to end misogyny by calling it out when we see it and by giving voice, support, and safety to those experiencing it. On that note, I'll ask those who are able to please join us in standing for the O Canada song. Thank you, anthem. That was very nice. A new O Canada provided to us, and I believe the area trustee, Trustee Morton, is going to introduce who that was performing, as well as introduce the next song that they're going to play.
It is my pleasure to introduce the Uxbridge Secondary School Grade 12 Instrumental Class of 2021 and Music Director Amy Peck, who have recorded the music performance Everlast, the Legacy Project, which was created in response to the question, how do we, the graduating music class of 2021, continue to contribute to the Uxbridge Secondary School music legacy in the absence of concerts and live performances? Their idea has exceeded all expectations. They decided to band together and write a concert band piece to represent their experience with music through the pandemic. Thank you for joining us.
That was just lovely. Trustee Morton, did you want to say something else?
I was just going to say that I think now we should band together to demonstrate how much we appreciate Uxbridge Secondary School visiting us tonight. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Trustee Morton. We were really happy to highlight that musical performance, and have to say that it's always so joyous to hear students not only playing music, but creating music. And so tonight we got both. So very happy to start off our meeting with them. Turning our attention now to the agenda, I'm wondering if there are any declarations of interest. I'm not seeing any declarations of interest. So are there any objections to the agenda as printed? Not seeing any objections to the agenda as printed, so I will adopt the agenda as it is in the package. We'll now move to item number 7 in the agenda, which is the minutes. The first part of that package, folios 1 to 9, are the approved minutes from the October 18th, 2021 meeting. And then item 7B, folio 10 to 20, are the minutes, draft minutes from November 15th. Are there any corrections or concerns with the minutes as printed in the package? Not seeing any, so we'll adopt the minutes as printed in the package as the official record of the board meeting from November 15th, 2021. Thank you very much. I'll now happily turn it over to Trustee Thatcher for item number 8, please.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. The board approved the actions of the Committee of the Whole in camera and adopted the motions made at the Committee of the Whole in camera meeting as follows. The disclosure of intimate personal or financial information in respect of a member of the board or committee, an employee or prospective employee of the board, or a pupil or his or her parent or guardian. Administrative transfers and placement, personnel issues, and property matters. Madam Chair, this is my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Thatcher. We will now move to item number 9 in the agenda, which is the election of the board chair. The election of the chair is conducted under board bylaw number 1. The Chief Executive Officer, Secretary of the Board, shall conduct the election, and the elected chair will conduct the remainder of the elections for the board this evening. When 2 or more trustees are nominated and agree to stand, each shall be given an opportunity to speak to their candidacy, and then voting shall begin by the use of confidential polling system. I've asked Executive System Lead Sir Ciac and student trustees to serve alongside me as arbiters in terms of looking at the polled votes. I will go forward once the votes are confirmed in terms of announcements. So I will now open up the nominations for the position of chair of the board. Trustee Morton?
I will self-nominate for this position.
Thank you, Trustee Morton. I will ask, are there any other nominations for chair of the board? Trustee Edwards?
I will self-nominate for the position of chair.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for chair of the board? I'll ask again, are there any other nominations for chair of the board? I will ask a third and final time. Are there any other nominations for chair of the board? Seeing none, I now call the nominations closed. Each candidate will have an opportunity to speak to their candidacy, and we will go in alphabetical order. So Trustee Edwards, turn it over to you to start, please.
Thank you, my fellow trustees and staff and student trustees. In deciding to run for chair of the board, I went back to review some of the Ministry of Education's governance resources, which included the Ontario Education Service Corporation's trustee professional development modules. And we all know and understand the governance duties of the chair as stated in these resources around presiding over the board meetings, establishing the board's agenda in consultation with the director, acting as a spokesperson for the board unless otherwise determined by the board, providing leadership to the board while maintaining focus on the strategic plan, mission, and values, and understanding that the chair may not act unilaterally and is an individual trustee with no greater rights or powers than any other trustee on the board. There's much more to the role of chair. A chair uses governance tools and leadership skills so that the board of trustees work together as a team to collaboratively make decisions, complete the work required while sharing the responsibility, place the good of all students and the school system before individual political agendas, be open-minded to all the views of their fellow trustees, while focusing equally on assessing the value of projects and initiatives, as well as controlling costs as we make decisions about student achievement and well-being and making sure that they are at the forefront of those decisions. The board as a whole must take responsibility to resolve dysfunctional situations and strive to build the dynamics that is demonstrated our commitment to our goals of Ignite Learning, our mission as Ignite Learning, and their strategic plan. On the topic of establishing a common ground in relationships, the guide recommends all trustees do a self-assessment. Upon reflecting on the 11 years I've served as a trustee, I've reflected on my skills and abilities with respect to the role of chair. I have demonstrated my ability in governance and chairing meetings through many positions I've held during my tenure as a trustee, such as chair of finance, vice chair standing, vice chair, just to name a few. For us as a board to have meaningful discussions and make informed decisions, the chair must also ensure the trustees have the relevant information. Now, considering my color is blue, and I'm not talking about my political affiliation, as I really do fit in the swing vote category, I thrive and need to have information and data. I'm almost certain that as chair, I can assure that in working with the director, the trustees will get the information we need to make an informed decision. I will share with you in a timely way any relevant information that comes through the chair's office on emerging issues that affect your school and communities. I also acknowledge that I'm not an expert on anything. In fact, I'm really uncomfortable when someone identifies me as an expert in special education. But I will say that I have adroitness or skills and experience in specific areas like special education that comes with being a parent of children with disabilities and sitting on Ciac for over 20 years. I acknowledge and recognize that every trustee around the board table has valued skills, experience, and knowledge. And I will work with you and collaborate with you together in making decisions using that knowledge around the table. I will endeavor to ensure meetings are run effectively and that all voices are heard. When handling any business of the board and the role of spokesperson, it will be done professionally, respectfully, and with impartiality. Some of my life and work experience includes growing up in a single parent family home and living in poverty, standing up and advocating for a sibling with a very low incident disability during a very different time, working in public and private sector with increased levels of responsibility, and being a parent and advocate of 2 children with 2 very different disabilities and varied needs. My experience has helped me develop my leadership skills for this position. It has also helped me be a good listener, compassionate, and empathetic. The next year will continue to present challenges like addressing the continued impact of COVID-19 and the emerging variants, funding pressures, and possible provincial government change in policy direction, just to name a few. I would be pleased to serve as your chair as we continue to collaboratively work together in monitoring the progress of the strategic plan and its 6 strategic priorities. As a board, we will continue to embed the principles from the United Nations Declaration of the Rights to Indigenous People, the new Indigenous Education Policy, the Charter of Human Rights, and the Ontario Human Rights Code when making decisions to ensure student success and achievement and the well-being of all students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Edwards. I now turn it over to Trustee Morton.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I want to say thank you to our Board of Trustees for providing me with the opportunity to serve as chair for the past year. I have learned much. I have gained many insights, but I realize that I still have much to learn. This year has been extremely challenging for our entire Durham community. So whether you are a kindergarten or grade 12 student, a parent, a staff member, a bus driver, a principal or superintendent, or the director or a trustee, we have all faced unprecedented times and encountered many hurdles. We have worked together and we will continue to do so in order to address our challenges. We can consider this time to be an opportunity to use our varying skill sets and knowledge bases to create safe, welcoming learning environments for our students and our staff. It is through the spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and giving voice to all of our students and staff so that they achieve their goals, adapt to the present reality, and confidently face new challenges. Representing the rural part of Durham, I'm comfortable using terms applicable to agriculture. Hence, I would suggest that we cultivate to create the best learning and growing opportunities. We plant seeds for a safe, caring, inclusive environment where our students thrive, and we fertilize to maximize the work that we do. So if you support me in this endeavor, and I hope that you do, it will again be all hands on deck as we work cooperatively and collaboratively to carry out the critical work of the Durham District School Board. Together, we will ignite learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Morton. I believe now we will have the confidential polling system appear for trustees to place their vote. The voting is complete. And I'm pleased to announce Trustee Morton is now Chair Morton for this year. Congratulations, Chair Morton. And I very happily turn this meeting over to your chairing now.
Thank you very much, everyone, for demonstrating that level of confidence. And yes, we will learn together. Thank you. We will now turn our attention to the election of vice chair of the board. I will now open nominations. Trustee Barnes,
I would like to nominate Trustee Thatcher.
moved by Trustee Barnes that Trustee Thatcher be nominated for the position of vice chair of the board. Trustee Thatcher, will you accept this nomination?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for vice chair of the board?
I would like to self-nominate as vice chair.
Thank you. Moved by Trustee Forbes. It says self-nomination. Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare nominations closed. Thank you. Candidates will be given the opportunity to speak to their nomination. And we will do this in alphabetical order again. So I would go to Trustee Forbes first. Trustee Forbes.
Thank you, Chair Morton, and thank you, trustees. I have decided to kind of throw my name into my hat into the ring. We have a big year ahead of us, and I would welcome the opportunity to be chairing meetings and ensuring that all of our diversity of voices are heard, and that the messages from our constituents are heard at our meetings. I would really welcome that opportunity. I have developed more of my governance skills through activities on the board, such as I was vice chair of standing and chair of education finance. I also sit on an external board, and I have just been appointed chair of governance there. So I would welcome to, as Chair Morton had said, learn in this role, but also learn alongside everyone and ensure that we all come together and move together as a cohesive board, because we do truly move together. And I would truly just welcome the opportunity to be a part of that and to help facilitate that in any way I could. So thank you for your consideration, and thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Forbes. Trustee Thatcher.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Morton. It has been a great honor and privilege to serve as vice chair of the board this year. It has provided me many leadership opportunities and a clearer understanding of the role and responsibilities of the position of vice chair. This understanding is fundamental to good governance, and which I consider to be critical for the work to be done in the year ahead. At the heart of our collective work are the students, their well-being, safety, and continued opportunities for learning and growing. Young people who are confident in their understanding of a dynamic and diverse world and in their ability to transform it. Never before has this been so challenging. To take every reasonable step to alleviate the uncertainties that exist in the future is certainly a challenge. Our families demand and deserve no less. I'm committed to equitable and inclusive education. I believe this to be foundational. Equity and diversity must be a common consideration, a common thread in all that we do as a board. As a parent and grandparent, I empathize and relate to the concerns of families in the community. As a former educator, I appreciate the need for ethical leadership and a healthy workplace for all, and have a genuine appreciation for those who are dedicated to creating a safe, welcoming, and inclusive learning environment for our diverse students. The Durham District School Board is one of the fastest growing boards in the province, which, as you would expect, has resulted in new challenges. It has also resulted in many new opportunities for innovation, guided by informed and evidence-based data, student and community voice. In the words of Aristotle, excellence is never an accident. It is the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Now more than ever, there's work to be done and obligations to be met. We must continue to be vocal in voicing the concerns and suggestions to improve our policies around public education, not to mention how severely underfunding from the provincial government continues to hamper the changes we need to meet our obligations in public education and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Thatcher. We will now vote by confidential polling system. Congratulations, Trustee Thatcher. You are Vice Chair of the board. Moving on, we will have the election of Vice Chair of Standing Committee. I will now open nominations for that position.
Chair Morton,
Yes,
I nominate Trustee Templeton.
thank you. Moved by Trustee Brainy that Trustee Templeton be nominated for the position of Vice Chair of Standing. Trustee Templeton, will you accept the nomination?
I do accept the nomination.
Thank you. Are there further nominations? Trustee Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Morton. I would like to self-nominate.
Thank you, Trustee Barnes. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare nominations closed. Thank you. Candidates will be given an opportunity to speak to their nomination, and we will do this alphabetically. So I will call on Trustee Barnes and then Trustee Templeton. Trustee Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Morton. First, I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for the honor to serve and represent the DDSB in the past year as Vice Chair of Standing. It has definitely given me the opportunity around professional growth, but more importantly, for me to share my lived experience and champion equity, diversity, both locally, provincially, and nationally. This unique moment in time has had a great impact on not just me, but to the voice of my community, to be able to influence the important discussions around anti-Black, anti-Indigenous racism as we strive to create a system that works for all students. It is my hope that the trustees will continue to have trust in me to represent the DDSB and to continue to support the great work that's being done. I once again look forward to representing the DDSB in not just the role of Vice Chair, but as a voice at the Opsba table that brings a much needed perspective of lived experience to the table, which is often missing. I hope as we work to redefine what education looks like, there'll be continuous trust in my ability to be a representative for the DDSB. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Barnes. Moving to Trustee Templeton. You're on mute, Trustee Templeton. You're still on mute.
There we go.
There we go.
I'd like to thank you for the nomination of Standing Committee Vice Chair. I bring with me 3 years of experience gained from those that have served on the previous 3 terms for Chair, Vice Chair of Standing, and Finance Chairs. I have sat as Chair for many fundraising committees and will always be nonpartisan in my role if elected. I believe we as trustees should adhere to a team atmosphere to promote equity and diversity and a safe learning environment. I thank you again for the nomination, and I look forward to working with all trustees going forward in our last term. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Templeton. We will now vote by confidential polling system. Congratulations, Trustee Barnes. You are Vice Chair of Standing. Moving on, we will have the election of the Chair of the Education Finance Committee. I will now open nominations.
Chair Morton, I'll nominate Trustee Crawford.
Trustee Crawford, moved by Trustee Brainy. Trustee Crawford, will you accept the nomination?
I will, and thank you.
Are there any further nominations? Trustee Edwards.
I will self-nominate for the position of Chair of Finance.
Thank you, Trustee Edwards. Trustee Lundquist.
I'd like to nominate Trustee Templeton.
Moved by Trustee Lundquist that Trustee Templeton is nominated for Chair of Finance. Trustee Templeton, will you stand for that nomination?
I accept.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare the nominations closed. We have Trustee Crawford, Trustee Edwards, and Trustee Templeton, and they are in alphabetical order. So I would ask Trustee Crawford to speak first.
No speech, Madam Chair. I'll just keep working the way I have been.
Thank you, Trustee Crawford. Trustee Edwards.
Just to reiterate that I think I was the Chair of Finance the last year, and that I've already given my speech about liking data. I have been very knowledgeable of the GSNs, and I would like to be able to fulfill the position and work with the trustees on the finance.
Thank you. Trustee Templeton.
First of all, thank you for the nomination. I am going to step up a little bit here. I've been following everybody's comments in the finance meetings and everything going along. Data is transferred, of course, to the trustees. I'd like to throw in a little bit of my background. My background is for the last 5 years being in charge of the finances for an external company. It's a $500,000 company, and we have yet to be audited or anything along those lines. So my experience for finance comes from that, and that would be my reason for putting forward for sitting on the finance chair. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees Crawford, Edwards, and Templeton. We will now vote by confidential polling system.
Chair Morton, in this case, there was not a successful candidate, but based on the vote totals, it would require a revote.
Do we drop off the one with the fewest votes?
In this case, there was a tie for second place.
So I'm simply going to ask for a revote.
That's correct.
Thank you. Our three candidates, Crawford, Edwards, and Templeton, we are going to seek a second vote simply because it could not be determined. No one person had the majority of votes. We will have a second vote.
Trustees. We now have 11 trustees who voted in this case. Trustee Crawford would now be dropped from the vote, and a vote would then proceed for Trustee Edwards and Trustee Templeton.
Thank you. We will have a third vote. This third vote, we will have two candidates in the running. They would be Trustee Edwards and Trustee Templeton. Trustee Crawford has been dropped from the ballot.
You would just ask for the remaining trustee to cast a ballot. It does look like Trustee Crawford has left the meeting. However, based on the vote there, we would be able to announce successful. So I will transmit that to you, Chair Morton.
Thank you. Congratulations, Trustee Edwards. You are the chair of the Education Finance Committee. Thank you. We will now have the election of the Opsba Liaison trustees. I will open nominations. Trustee Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Morton. I would self-nominate for this position.
Thank you, Trustee Barnes. Are there further nominations? Trustee Edwards.
Just clarification, Chair Morton. we're voting for our, is this for the voting representative for Opsba? Because you said associate. We usually do voting and then the non-voting and then the 2 alternates.
Okay, so this would be for the voting member of Opsba.
Thank you for that clarification.
You are very welcome. So we have one nominee, and that is Trustee Barnes. Are there other nominations? Are there any further nominations? Seeing none. We will also open nominations for the non-voting representative for Opsba, the non-voting. Are there any nominations for that position? Are there any nominations for the non-voting representative for Opsba?
Point of information, Madam Chair.
Certainly.
Thank you. Would we conclude the vote for the voting member of Opsba before we moved on to the non-voting member?
Well, according to my written material, and I'm following the script.
Oh, I see it. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. I see it. I'm confused. I apologize.
I can stand to be corrected if I am making an error here. I do not see that we have anybody nominated for the non-voting representative for Opsba. Trustee Thatcher?
I'd like to self-nominate for that position.
Thank you, Trustee Thatcher. Moving on to the alternate trustee for Opsba. There are 2 positions to fill in for either Opsba voting representative or the non-voting representative as may be required. Moved by, do we have anyone moving on that one? I would self-nominate then for an alternate. Trustee Stone, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to be an alternate. But do you need 2?
We need 2. So I would say Trustee Stone, thank you. Patrick, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just thank you, Chair Morton. Just a comment, suggestion. I think we only have 1 nomination each for the voting position and the non-voting position. It might be easy to declare those positions, and then you could have the vote for the alternates. Just a suggestion so that we don't get lost in the number of positions.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. Thank you, Council Cotter. So for our voting representative, we have Trustee Barnes. Thank you, Patrice. For our non-voting representative for Opsba, we have Trustee Thatcher. Thank you. Now moving on to the alternates. I think we have Trustee Stone and myself. Are there any others? Seeing none. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? I will ask a 3rd time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare the nominations closed. Thank you to Trustee Barnes, Trustee Thatcher, Trustee Stone. Moving on. Election of the Audit Committee Liaison Trustees. At the October 18th, 2021 board meeting, 2 motions were carried and adopted by the Board of Trustees to extend the term of appointment of trustees on the Audit Committee to a 2-year term to provide consistency to the committee and to extend the term of appointment of trustees currently on the Audit Committee by 1 additional year to provide consistency to the committee and to align to provincial elected terms. That's effective December 2022. The following trustees will continue as the Audit Committee Liaison trustees for the next year. They are Trustee Michael Barrett, Trustee Paul Crawford, and Trustee Linda Stone. Thank you to Trustees Barrett, Crawford, and Stone for serving on the Audit Committee for a second year. Moving on to the election of Ciac, or Special Education Advisory Committee Liaison Trustees. I will now open nominations. Liaison Trustee for Ciac. There are 2 positions. Trustee Edwards.
No surprise, I not self-nominate for Ciac position.
Thank you, Trustee Edwards. Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations?
I will self-nominate for Ciac.
Thank you, Trustee Forbes. Are there further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare the nominations closed. Thank you to Trustees Edwards and Forbes for serving on Ciac. Thank you. We need an alternate liaison trustee for Ciac. 2 positions. Nominations for alternate Ciac. Trustee Stone?
Yes, I'll sit on that. I'll self-nominate for that. Thank you.
Nominate Trustee Stone. And Trustee Barnes, did I also see your hand up? Thank you, Trustee Barnes. Are there further nominations? I think we can consider nominations closed. So thank you to Trustees Edwards and Forbes, and for alternates, Trustees Stone and Barnes. Thank you very much. Moving on to the election of Supervised Alternative Learning, or SAL. I will now open nominations. Trustee Templeton.
I'd like to self-nominate.
Thank you, Trustee Templeton. I will also self-nominate for Sal. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare nominations closed. Thank you, Trustee Templeton. You and I will serve on Sal. Thank you. We need liaison people who would serve on Sal. Are there any nominations for liaison for Sal?
As an alternate, I would self-nominate for that.
Thank you, Trustee Forbes. Are there further nominations? Trustee Thatcher, thank you. Are there further nominations? I would like to thank Trustee Templeton for serving on Sal. I would like to thank Trustees Forbes and Thatcher to serve as alternates for Sal. The election of the Parent Involvement Committee Liaison Trustees. I will open nominations for PIC. Trustee Templeton.
I would love to sit on the Parent Involvement Committee.
So self-nomination, thank you, Trustee Templeton. Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare nominations closed. Trustee Templeton, thank you very much for serving on the Parent Involvement Committee. I'm just curious to know, do we need an alternate for PIC? We do. Thank you, Trustee Templeton. Do we have any nominations?
I'll self-nominate for PIC.
Thank you, Trustee Stone. So we have Trustees Templeton and Stone working on our PIC committee. Thank you very much. Election of the Code of Conduct Liaison Trustees. Code of Conduct. I will now open nominations. Are there any nominations for Code of Conduct Committee? Trustee Lundquist?
Yeah, I'm prepared to do that if nobody else steps forward.
Thank you, Trustee Lundquist. Trustee Templeton?
Are we voting on chair and vice chair or just chair right now?
No, that would be done on committee. Right now, we are just nominating trustees to serve on that committee.
Just for point of clarification, Carolyn, I'm not sure if this is what you're saying, but the Code of Conduct Committee consists of the chair and the vice chair. So yourself and Christine Thatcher, you're voting on the one alternate. I think that's what you mean. Is that correct?
If that's where we need to be going, Michael, I trust your judgment.
Yes.
And
so with Nikki voting, she becomes the alternate in case there's an issue with the chair and the vice chair.
That was my understanding as well. I wasn't signing up for more than that.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for reminding me of that. That's great. So I'm serving on Code of Conduct. Trustee Thatcher is serving on Code of Conduct. And Trustee Lundquist, thank you for self-nomination. I appreciate that. Moving on. Election of the Indigenous Education Advisory Circle Trustees. I will open nominations for that. Trustee Lundquist?
I would like to self-nominate for this role.
Thank you. Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? I will ask a third time, and if there are no further nominations, I will declare nominations closed. Nominations are closed. Thank you, Trustee Lundquist, for serving on the Indigenous Education Advisory Circle. There are no elections for the following committees, as all trustees will participate on these committees: the Board Expulsion, the Board Suspension Appeal, Director's Performance, and Governance and Policy. I think we have concluded our voting, but I stand corrected if anyone would like to challenge that. No, thank you, everyone. Turning again to our agenda. And I'm looking at number 14, the draft board and committee meeting dates. If you turn in your agenda to pages 21 to 24, you will see what our next year looks like. All of our calendar dates are there. Please keep this document. Moving on, we have one recommended action, and I would turn to Trustee Barnes for that action.
Thank you, Chair. I kind of got caught up in this whole process and forget what it was. I wanted to put forward a motion, if I could find my paperwork. I put forward a motion that the board meeting of December 20th be canceled as we are into our break for December break. I wanted to put that motion on the floor.
Thank you, Trustee Barnes. Do we have somebody second that motion? Thank you, Trustee Lundquist. All those in favor of Trustee Barnes' motion to cancel the meeting of December 20? I'm looking for those green check marks. That motion has passed. Thank you, Trustee Barnes. Moving on to information items. We haven't seen or heard much of our student trustees tonight, but now they have an opportunity to speak. So James, Demario, and Kayla, over to you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to pass it off to James to begin our report for the night.
At our previous Student Senate meeting on November 15th, we held our elections for Student Senate positions, which included Working Group Co-Chairs, Regional Directors, Mental Health Symposium Lead, Student Senate Open House Lead, Elementary Leadership Conference Lead, and our Social Affairs Coordinators. We are eager to work alongside these individuals and begin the planning stages of our initiatives and events for this year on the Student Senate.
We had the privilege of having a group discussion with Superintendent Nevels at our last Senate meeting, and the senators brought forward some very well thought out questions. Superintendent Nevels provided insight on the definition of a superintendent and what it is that they do. He also helped student senators to better understand his portfolio, more specifically, equitable education and youth and adult student engagement and success. In the last committee meeting, we mentioned our student trustees introduction video, which we made with the help of the DDSB media team. Last month, we were able to get our video sent out to the DDSB secondary schools. Each school is sharing the video with their student body. Our next step is to have it sent to our elementary schools and have it shown to grade 7 and 8 classes and hope for the students to gain a better understanding of what Student Senate is. This is also one of our engagement tools to prepare them for our elementary leadership conference that will be taking place early next year.
Moving forward for our working group updates, after electing our working group co-chairs, our working groups proceeded with project planning for the next year. For this year, my bad.
In moving forward to our regional updates, one of the primary goals of the Northern region is to build a closer relationship among the 3 Northern secondary schools and the student leaders of the region. This will ensure North Durham students are properly represented within our Student Senate. In order to improve this relationship, we've begun the primary stages of creating a North Durham introductory video. Similar to our student trustee introductory video, this video will answer common questions regarding Student Senate and will help to advertise the student senators of the North so students are aware of whom they can speak to within their school.
The West Region senators and I are finalizing a document of resources and places that students are able to use to complete their volunteer hours. The document contains both updated hour requirements and what qualifies as volunteer hours. This resource is meant to help all students. Furthermore, this document will also contain 2 lists. One list provides online places that allow students to volunteer, and the second list offers places that are allowing in-person volunteer activities to take place.
The East Region senators have brought up many noteworthy points about their schools, but 2 unfortunate issues that are gradually becoming more prominent are racial social media posts created by students and increased aggression amongst the students. There have been reports that derogatory social media posts from students have been circulating within the school community and are being published on digital social media platforms. In addition, there have been repeated There have been repeated thefts of school property by the students. Conquering these issues will be a mission for the East Region of the Student Senate in the near future.
This concludes our Standing Committee report for November, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this report. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Demario. Thank you, Kayla. Do we have any questions or comments for our 3 student trustees? Trustee Edwards.
Thank you for your report. I always look forward to hearing what students are doing in the schools. I was just wondering, you mentioned your video, whether the trustees would be allowed to see the video, view it, because it'd be very interesting to see basically how you get the other students involved in Student Senate.
Do we have an answer for Trustee Edwards?
Trustee Chair Morton?
Yes.
I can respond if you like. The student trustees did make that request, and so it will go forward to agenda planning. In the meantime, what I said to them was that we would distribute it via social media as well as on the website.
Perfect. Thank you. And Trustee Barnes, I see your hand up.
Thank you. I just wondered from the student trustees that we've had, in your report, you mentioned some stuff that are happening in regards to social media posts that are inappropriate and some of the behaviors at schools that are inappropriate. In talking to students, are you identifying any kind of, I don't know if trends or patterns or things that are kind of fueling some of this behavior, or any concerns that you guys are seeing that you'd like to share around some of that stuff?
I think Kayla wants to answer. Kayla?
Through you, Chair. So we actually did have a discussion with one of our student advisors about this. She actually brought forward to us a few schools in the West region, so within Pickering and Ajax, a lot of it for social media. The main focus of it has been fights between students. Anytime there happens to be some sort of physical fight between 2 students or more, it always happens to be recorded and posted on some form of social media, reposted by other students, and then put on these Instagram accounts that other students will make specifically for that reason. So that is one sort of trend. I don't know if you call it a trend, but a trend that has been shown a lot of interest in.
Do you have a supplemental, Patrice?
No, I don't, but I see Demario, I think, has his hand up to add to that question.
Certainly, Demario.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. I haven't noticed too many trends going on in the East region, but one thing that I did make note of is that usually the acts of aggression come from the younger grades, like the grade 9s and the grade 10s. That's something that I've observed in my region, and I felt like that was worth making note of.
James, could I ask you if you have observed any of these things in the North?
I personally haven't heard of anything in regards to fighting or videotaping. However, in the past, there have been instances at Brook High School, Uxbridge, and Fort Perry. I don't see that there's a huge trend, especially because the North differs from the East and the West. But something I have noticed is that it does result in toxic masculinity. It's normally between 2 males and of the older grades, in fact, kind of fighting it out in that sort of sense. But other than that, there aren't any specific instances this school year.
Thank you. Kayla?
Just for the North region, I've actually heard, like what James is saying, toxic masculinity, but not actually at the schools. It would be off school property, but between, yes, 2 or more males, or there have been a few incidents where it was females, but other than that, yeah, I agree with what James is saying, usually toxic masculinity, and it is also younger grades.
I think Director Marsh has her hand up.
Thank you, through you, Chair Morton. I just wanted to say it is something that we are aware of in terms of when the fights occur. When the fights have occurred, and there haven't been that many, but there have been more than in previous years, in September especially. And so part of that may have been part of the transition back to school. So even though they don't happen on school property, it is part of the school day. And so the school is most definitely involved in terms of follow-up, trying to remove the videos from social media, as well as, of course, following up and looking to resolve the issues between the students that were involved.
Thank you, Director Marsh. Thank you to James, Kayla, and Demario. Oh, James, your hand is up.
Sorry, thank you, Trustee Morton. I just wanted to add one thing, that we are also going to be discussing this within our Student Senate meeting upcoming, I believe, on the 13th. And it is an issue, along with many others, that we will be discussing, just so that there's some kind of food for thought, and we know that we're moving forward with this and addressing it from a student perspective. Thank you.
And please keep us informed. Moving on to the 2021 Director's Annual Report. Director Marsh.
Thank you, through you, Chair Morton. Really happy on behalf of Administrative Council to share with you the snapshot of accomplishments from 2021. We recognize that success in education is grounded in positive relationships, a sense of belonging and well-being, and support to achieve. This report reflects the value we have placed on those contributing factors to success. In reflecting upon the year, the theme that emerges is one of gratitude. So many gave of themselves to support the welfare of others, and we appreciate all that students, families, staff, and trustees did to uplift school communities. In the face of the pandemic that continues to evolve, we've needed to adapt multiple times and to multiple realities and responsibilities. We've faced mental health challenges as a result, most definitely, which is something that we've discussed many times through the course of the year. While it has not been an easy time for our community, people have continued to look for opportunities to connect, to care, and to learn. We could not have accomplished a return to in-person and virtual schooling this year without the incredible support of the committed staff who have challenged themselves and worked collaboratively in the face of unprecedented demands. During this time, during my time in schools over the course of this last year, one message that I have heard repeatedly from staff was that of the importance of engaging students and the joy of learning. And certainly firsthand saw evidence of that as students continue in their classrooms, laughing, debating, playing, creating, problem solving, and collaborating. Their energy fueled us all to keep going. Over the past year, we have continued to embed the principles of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the new Indigenous education policy, and the proposed draft human rights policy to guide our planning and work. Now, more than ever, the focus on equitable opportunities, outcomes, and success for all students needs to be at the forefront of the work that we continue to do. I want to thank everyone in terms of the staff and the community and trustees for their continued flexibility, the feedback and support as we continue to manage the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. And really happy to take any questions you may have in terms of the annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Marsh. Comments or questions? Trustee Barnes.
Thank you. I don't have a question really. I just want to add on to Director Marsh's comments in regards to just thanking our staff in so many ways, every one of our staff in every position, every location, because it has been I don't want to say interesting year, but it's definitely been one where we've had to pivot at a second's notice, and realizing that it's not always easy on staff to do that, but we want to thank them for being there for our students, and that's what it comes down to, and we would like to be there for them. So thank you to all our staff and everything that they've done to support the system this year. And every single one of our staff in every category has been really wonderful in keeping our system running. So thank you very much.
I completely agree, Trustee Barnes, and thank you for verbalizing that on our behalf. Trustee Barrett.
Yes, and thank you. And I'm going to be quick. I really hate when there's a little bit of a pile on here, the Director Marsh and the rest of staff. But I'm going to pile on a little bit here, just in the sense that I certainly recognize, and we all recognize from our own lives, there is no such thing as a textbook when it comes to dealing with COVID. There is no manual written for this. There is no guidelines. There's no history. There's no ability to be able to look back, 20 years ago and just pull this binder off the shelf. This is all something that's made to order. And we recognize that there's leadership being displayed and elevated and demonstrated at every single level of this organization, right from every single individual, right to the top of the organization as well. So recognize that's really important. This past school year, as this school year, is another element of being able to write what's right, especially in light of confusing direction, misleading information, changing information, and almost you have to twirl on your heels in order to be able to interpret, implement, design, focus, and invent what's going on. So that we have come this far, I think, is testament to the levels of leadership throughout this organization. Because I know that, Nora, you would be the first one to be able to recognize that it's just not about the efforts of one, it's about the efforts of many marching as one. So I really do appreciate what's here. Nothing's been perfect. Nothing's perfect. Trustees have not been perfect. But I would say that we have always kept students at the focus of what we want to be able to do. And I'm pleased and I'm happy with the contributions that have been made. Thank you, Chair Morton.
Thank you. And I completely agree with you, Trustee Barrett. And in fact, it reminds me of when I was in the classroom and I always had a big sign up in the room that spelled TEAM, and team meant together, everyone achieves more. And no doubt we can look back to our last year, our last 2 years, and know that we have achieved because we are working together. So to Director Marsh, thank you for your leadership, and to our staff for the wonderful work that they do. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Ciac report. Trustee Edwards.
The Ciac report can be found from pages 63 to 70, and it's on the meeting of October 21st. That's my report, Chair Morton.
Thank you. Comments? Seeing none, we will turn to our Opsba report, and that would be Trustee Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Morton. I'll be brief. I just wanted to share with trustees that Opsba and the Minister of Education has added a new schism. I think will be great because we do already have a nonprofit schism, but they're adding a schism around education and around teachers and French language teachers. So that would be exciting. The proposal is to encourage students from different lived experience to consider teaching as a career option, thereby ensuring that our future teachers reflect our communities, to encourage students, especially in the north, rural, and remote areas, to pursue teaching so that they consider remaining in their home communities, to intentionally focus on core French immersion, and extended French students as a separate schism, to regularly identify subject areas that require more qualified teachers, such as technology, math, science, and adjust around mentoring students for those for those identified subjects, and to develop partnerships with universities and colleges to develop direct pathways into post-secondary facilities of education and ECE programs. So the streams that are being proposed are nonprofit in education, core French, French immersion and extended French, and nonprofit with a minor in education. So this is some exciting things where I think we already have a schism. So I guess we just under nonprofit. So this would be another extension of that. So I just wanted to share that. And we had a lot of conversations around TVO and the creation of online courses and what their position or role is going to be in future education. So we're getting some more information as that is coming out, that they'll be back to sort of creating courses, I think between 40 to 90 courses, and school board consortiums will be back to also creating courses. So that is still a developing situation, but encouraging in knowing that we're sort of keeping school boards in the business of education. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the Opsba report? Seeing none, we have one committee report. So we will go to Trustee Stone to learn about the Governance and Policy Committee.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Morton. Trustees just had I think a fairly fulsome and open discussion between ourselves and staff around the human rights policy. I think the minutes are quite detailed. So if you would like to know more about what was discussed, you can check the minutes. They're on page 71 to 76, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments? Questions? If you look at the correspondence, you will see that we've had many, in fact, there are 7 here, letters that you would be advised to read. I see no other business. So I think we can consider this meeting to be adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.